Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be going over secondary dominants. This is a really cool way to spice up your chord progressions, so let's jump straight into it. Okay, so secondary dominants, for a brief description, are non-diatonic chords that you can add to a chord progression that is diatonic. Diatonic meaning chords within the key, so a diatonic chord progression would be comprised of all chords that are within the same key, and then adding a non-diatonic chord would mean adding a chord that's not within the key. To understand secondary dominants, we need to first understand our regular dominant chord. So, within a key, for example, G major, we have a set of chords. So we have G major, A minor, B minor, C minor, D major, E minor, and F sharp diminished. And if we were to turn them into seventh chords, we'd have G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, C major 7, D dominant 7, which is the important one that you need to remember here, and the dominant 7 is the fifth chord, okay? And then we'd have E minor 7, and F sharp minor 7 flat 5, okay? But the real important chord we need to know here is the 5 chord, which is our dominant chord, okay? And the dominant chord has the function of wanting to kind of pull back to the root chord, the one chord. So in this case would be G major. So let me show you a chord progression quickly, and I'll end it with a D dominant 7 chord, going back into the G, so you can hear how it wants to pull back into a G major chord. So we have G, E minor, C, D7, and G. So you hear how that D7 wants to pull back to the G. Well, we can use this function for other chords, and this is where the secondary dominant theory comes in. To create a secondary dominant, we're going to take, for example, the second chord of this chord progression. So we've got E minor here, okay? And remember, our dominant chord was the fifth chord, so we are going to find a fifth above E, which is B, and you can figure out a fifth above any note by taking a look at the circle of fifths. I've got a video on the circle of fifths here. But also, you can just go down to the next string. So we've got an E string here. Go down to the next string and up 2 frets, and that's a fifth. So we have a B here. And what we're going to do is we're going to play a B dominant 7. Yeah? And that would be the secondary dominant for our E minor chord. Okay? So let's chuck that into our chord progression. We're going to play G, then we're going to play B dominant 7, which is our secondary dominant, into E minor, then C, then D7. So let's take a look at that. So we've got brilliant. So that's already spiced the chord progression up. So what if we add another secondary dominant to the next chord? So the next chord after E minor in our chord progression was C. So we need to figure out what a fifth above C would be. So a fifth above C would be G. Okay? So that means we're going to play a G7 or a G dominant 7 chord. So you can play it like that as a bar chord, or you can play it as an open chord. I'm going to play it as an open chord. So this G7 is going to come just before the C chord. So we've got G, we've got B dominant 7, which is our secondary dominant for E minor, which is the next chord. Then, before the C, we've got a G7, and then we go to the C. And then we've got a D7, and then back to the G. So, here we go. Okay, one thing you need to know is that with secondary dominants, it doesn't matter if the chord that it's pulling to is a major or a minor. The dominant 7 has the function of pulling back to the 1, whether it is a major or a minor chord. Okay, so we've got one more chord left in this chord progression, which is our D7. So let's find the 5th of D. So the 5th of D would be A, yeah, and we will play an A dominant 7 chord just before the D7. Okay, so our chord progression is G, B7, E minor, G7, C, A7, D7, and that's it, and then we go back to the G again. So our chord progression with all the secondary dominants sounds like this. So you can see how that really spices up a chord progression. Just playing a chord as a dominant 7th, which is a 5th above the next chord that you're going to play in the chord progression, is a secondary dominant, and really adds a lot to your chord progressions. So I'm hoping that video has helped you out massively. If it did, then please subscribe to my channel, and also when you do, click the notification bell so that YouTube notifies you every single time I release a new lesson. Like the video and let me know how you got on in the comments. I've also got a Patreon account, so that's in the description. You can check that out if you feel like supporting the channel. So, until next time.